Hey, Riddle here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a subscriber. I really appreciate it. I have several videos on the topic of chronic fatigue, which I've suffered from for, 7 to 10 years. It kind of crept up on me. And like many people who get chronic fatigue, it was really, really difficult to get a doctor to diagnose it. Arduous. And as you know, if you're suffering from fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, if it's not hard enough just to function and get through daily life, to have to fight the medical establishment it's cruel. It's cruel and it's awful. Oh, hey, Greg, how are you? It's my neighbor, Greg.
Hey,
So
I have your mirror for you. Can I bring it up later?
please, thank you.
Okay, will do.
Okay, take care, man.
Thanks, man.
Have a good run. So, as I was saying, over the years, I've had to fight, and figure out little by little things that worked for me. I approached my regular doctor after finding that the drug in low dose, LDN, naltrexone, was giving people back high function. So when I took that to my doctor and told her that I wanted to try it, she refused, and I had to go see a naturopathic doctor to prescribe the low dose naltrexone for me, and it worked fantastic for several years. And because it was low dose, the side effects were non-existent, and I just felt really great. Not fully, it really gave me the energy and took away a lot of the pain. It managed the fatigue really well, and it actually gave me a better mood. It's kind of the side effect of it. But I still had the brain fog. I was still having trouble focusing and doing what I need to do, creating art and writing and what have you. So my body over a couple years acclimated to it. And I tried all the tricks they tell you to, not take it for a week, take it again. But my body just was kind of done with it, and it wasn't effective anymore. So I finally got into the clinic at Stanford. It's one of the few chronic fatigue clinics in the nation. And first of all, I have to tell you, once again, just getting an appointment, just getting into the clinic was insane. And the irony is they said that they had a really low admittance rate, yet this so lacks emotional intelligence, yet no one ever really looked at how horrific the intake process was. And it was filling out many, many forms online, and then trying to figure out how to effectively get all those forms to the right person before you can even have an appointment. And then they didn't even bother to let you know if they received the forms. So you have to call them again after waiting weeks and weeks and weeks, just for them to kind of dismiss you and ask you, well, do you want to make an appointment or not? The whole thing was a shit show. But I have found, where I live in Northern California specifically, that healthcare is pretty terrible. And I have great insurance. And my point of all this bitching is that you're already dealing with days that are difficult to even get out of bed or do anything. And these people are supposed to specialize in this condition. You would think they'd have more empathy. You would think they would have a system in place that would help you get through the process a lot more easily. But no. But I got through it. I fought, I complained, and I finally got my appointment with my doctor, who I like a lot. Now, she gave me a new prescription, and again, very interesting. It's another low-dose compound medicine, and this literally just targets the inflammation in the brain to help with my brain fog and my cognitive abilities. And that has been working really, really well. And I will list that medication for you. And again, because it's compounded, it's very affordable too. You'll have to find a compound pharmacy though, but the good thing is you can find a compound pharmacy anywhere, and they can always ship the medication to you. So even if you live in a smaller community that doesn't have compound pharmacies or these resources, that doesn't mean that it can't be shipped to you from the East or West Coast or wherever there is a good compound pharmacy. And I will list the name of my name and phone number, the details of my compound pharmacy for those of you who need it. But now I want to go to the next level here, and that is many, many people who suffer from chronic fatigue, who believe they're empaths, who have the combination chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. One common denominator has been the possibility of psychological components to this dis-ease. If you take the word disease and you split it apart, it's literally the idea that the body being under trauma or stress for too long creates the state of being in dis-ease creates disease. So whatever components in your body that perhaps were genetically fragile to begin with, those are the first ones to shut down or become problematic. So recently I discovered, I thought it was like children of alcoholics thing and codependency, but after going through almost kind of a breakdown, my body just kind of shut down in a really weird way. Like my nervous system went berserk. And I'm talking several days going to the emergency room, and the pain that kept me from sleeping at night, and then it all culminating to getting stress-related Bell's palsy, where half my face was paralyzed. I could not go to the bathroom. I had a catheter bag, and I'm a healthy man who works out, eats incredible, and my body just did a full-scale shutdown. And what this did is it really made me aware of trauma and the emotions that were repressed or going on in my life. And so I reached out to a therapist, and she's a very kind woman, but she's just your regular talk therapist. And it really wasn't going anywhere because as you can tell, I don't have any problem communicating, and I have a good support system. And often talk therapy can aggravate trauma more than it can help trauma. And what I discovered was that I have childhood post-traumatic stress disorder and everything that comes along with it. And when you talk to many people who are suffering from chronic fatigue, you can follow it back to some kind of trauma or childhood trauma. And why I'm bringing this up is, if you have had childhood trauma or trauma in your life, you have to find a trauma therapist. This is a very specific therapist, and often their method to help you to heal and literally restructure or rewire your brain away from trauma brain is a method called EMDR. EMDR. I don't know enough about this yet because I'm actually just starting the process, but the little bit of therapy I've done with it and just becoming aware of my body, my breathing, my emotions has been pretty amazing. This is a book that was recommended to me that I am reading in conjunction with my therapy. This is fascinating. I highly recommend getting The Body Keeps Score because it explains on a scientific level in detail how traumatic experiences, abuse, neglect, or perhaps if you were a veteran or experienced some horrific event in your life, how the body reacts to this and the interaction between the mind and the body, and how the body can create physical pain and physical disease based on unresolved issues. So I have a friend, and he had a horrific childhood, fatherless, and his mother was crazy and super physically abusive. And he's a little bit older from that generation that looks at mental health as like there's something wrong with you. The self-judgment and lack of empathy is so sad. And in his mind, and I have an older sister that also takes this approach, that you can just forget and forgive everything, in theory is wonderful, but what they don't see is, how hard life is for them and how much they suffer because of how their brains have been affected in their, when they were children by the abuse and the trauma. And you can't just wish that away. And, their lives, their relationships, and their inability to high function and have a normal life with normal friendships and relationships, and how fear truly controls every facet of their lives. It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and yet they're still too wounded or too in their own heads to do the work. So that's my journey this year. My journey at my age, discovering that my own fears and limitations and, possibly my chronic fatigue, will I be able to heal or minimize my fatigue and my fear and my pain in my body through EMDR and through trauma therapy? And I'm just sharing this with chronic fatigue sufferers as hope and as a maybe. And I think when you're really in the throes of chronic fatigue and it feels so alone and it feels so hopeless, especially when you don't have access to and you haven't even tried the several medications that may or may not help you to relieve some of the symptoms. And again, those are Band-Aids. Anytime I encounter anything that could bring some type of hope or some type of healing to others that are experiencing what I am, it's worth sharing, right? I believe it's worth sharing. So that's it. I will, make my next video perhaps in a month. So I give this some time, and hopefully by then I'll be able to explain to you more about how the EMDR therapy works and how it's having an effect on my life, or if it's not having an effect on my life. But I can say for sure, this is a heavy read. There's a lot of technical stuff in it, but it is fascinating, and I highly recommend getting into it. I'm only on the 4th chapter right now, and I've learned so much, not just about myself, but looking at other people that I've encountered over the years that had similar or worse childhoods than I did. And that's it. So please keep posted. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment box below. I'll share as much as I can. And I want you to take care of yourselves and stay hopeful and keep your mind in the game. I always say keep your mind in the idea that there is hope and there is help. And, don't give up. Don't give up, because you're not alone. And there's lots of different answers, and different things work for different people. So allow yourself that hope. Allow yourself that hope and realize that you're not alone. And take care of yourselves and take care of each other, because I believe how we treat each other on the streets is our ultimate reality. And if you get some value out of this video, please like it, subscribe it, and share it. Okay, bye for now.